Okay, well, here we are. Thanks for being on, you guys. I'll try and make this short and sweet so that you can get on with your evening. Someday I'd love to do these trainings during the day, but most people are not able to be on them. So until I figure out a solution for that, the evenings just have to work. So congratulations for making it this far into the program. You're a week and a half in, and you guys are all doing a really great job staying engaged in the group and checking in, asking questions. That's really what makes it, what helps you become successful, because you're engaged and you're in this. So well done. Hopefully you're feeling like you're sort of finding your groove now. The first week is kind of iffy, but then by the second week, you're really starting to feel a pattern emerge and feel like you've got this. Now, this program was never intended to only be like 3 weeks and you're done. It's just a jump start to teach you some habits that you can continue after the program. And most of my clients do a second round because they want to really get those habits instilled. But I don't want you to think that this was like a quick fix. It's just, and I think I explained this in the first training, it's just that after 3 weeks, people get tired of checking in and sort of need a break. That's why it's only a 3-week program. Okay, let's start with there was a question on what the name of the supplements I use. So I get all of my supplements at 5-Star Nutrition because I love the customer service there. The guys there are so helpful and friendly, and they don't talk down to me, and they don't hit on me, and it's not this whole bro thing that I get when I go into other supplement stores. So I just really support them because they're, I don't know, they're really unique in that way. I've been in other supplement stores where I just wanted to run because they're so rude and they talk down at me, and I don't need that. So I love 5-Star Nutrition. This is the protein I drink. It's a little tiny container. Protein One is the brand, and it's really great on your macros because it is only 5 grams of carbs and 2.5 grams of fat, but you get 24 grams of protein. So for those of us who struggle getting protein, it's a really nice option, and it's good. It's delicious, and it just goes down really smooth and fast. I use a pre-workout for my morning workouts or when I run. I cannot run without pre-workout. This is Metcon Start, and it's a clean pre-workout formula. I also like Beachbody's Energize. So I've been using this since I met 5-Star Nutrition, and it's been great, but I don't know that it feels that different than Energize. So if you have Energize, it's pretty similar in taste and the effect. And then I use, so I don't use this every day. I probably use this 3 or 4 times a week. I try not to use it every day. Not that you can't, just to limit caffeine a little bit. And then these are my BCAAs. Amino One is the brand, and there's like 10 different flavors. This has dextrose in it, so it's not like super clean. I would love to find one that doesn't, but I don't know that they even have them on the market. Hey, Erin. So I drink this when I am working out fasted. If I'm doing like a heavy lift, I'll drink BCAAs. I don't have them every day, but it's really good for muscle repair. And like I said, when you're working out fasted. Okay, so today I want to talk to you guys about calories. I'm going to switch the view here. I don't know why I'm not coming up. It's not working. Okay, we'll keep it this way. I want to talk to you about calories. So I'm going to use myself as the main example here because I think it illustrates it easily, and I know my numbers. So first of all, if you are really comfortable with how everything's going without tracking, you don't need to stress about this. But I know that a lot of you like number targets and want some of those. So that's what we're going to talk about today. When you figure out how many calories you should have, the first place we're going to start is by finding your BMR, and that stands for your basal metabolic rate. And that just means your the rate at which you're burning calories if you were resting. So how many calories your body needs or goes through if you were to spend a whole day in bed. So you're not eating, you're not exercising, you're not really moving, you're just like in a comatose kind of state, just not moving. That's your BMR. To find your BMR, you can just use a simple online calculator. Just Google BMR calculator and you'll get 100 choices. They're all free and it's a very simple calculation. Do a few of them so that you can take the average of them. Mine are between different calculators. They vary like 20 or 30 points or something, 20 or 30 calories. So find your BMR. That's step one. Now, step two is going to be to add some calories to that. So let me give you my personal example. My BMR is like 1,200 something. I'm really short, so I'm 5'2". And so, that should tell you right there that it's going to be lower. The taller you are, the more calories you get. A few years ago, I did a program called the 21 Day Fix. You guys have probably heard of it. It's a program where you have these little color-coded containers and you get a chart and you do some calculations. And depending on what calculation you get, it tells you, how many of each container you get. Well, and it breaks down to basically how many calories. I was always in the lowest calorie bracket because I'm so little and short. So that lowest calorie bracket was about 1,200 calories. And I lost weight doing the program. I was probably 10 pounds lighter than I am now. I was lean and I was miserable because I was starving and I was grumpy and I knew that it wasn't enough. But every time I tried to manipulate the numbers, I always got that lowest bracket. And it took a few years of research and learning and playing with it to really figure it out. And when I learned this about the BMR, it's like, of course. So my BMR is around 1,200. I was getting 1,200 calories, and that doesn't include any of the exercise I was doing. So add another 300, 400, 500 calories on top of that. Subtract that from 1,200. Subtract just the act of eating burns calories. Moving around burns calories. Everything you do burns calories. So if you take the 1,200 I was getting minus all of that activity, I was probably getting like 300 calories. I mean, that's crazy. And, yes, you will lose weight on a calorie deficit program because you do need to be in a deficit to lose weight. You do. It's just mathematical. You have to burn more than you put in. But most of us don't realize how much we need to start with. I think we start at a much lower number than we think. We're we're actually much higher than we think we should be. So my BMR is 1,200. You burn through movement, exercise, eating, living, anywhere between half to your full BMR, which means for me, I can get between 600 and 1,200 more calories on average than my resting rate. So that means that I aim to get between 1,800 to 2,400 calories on average. Does that make sense? Are we good so far? So I did 1,200 plus 600, that's half of my BMR, that's 1,800, and then up to 2,400. So on a low carb day, I'm lower. I'm like today, I'm at like 1,600. I just tracked just to see. And that's fine. I didn't work out today. I wasn't super hungry. So that's an okay number. I'm still below what I burned because 1,200, I'm sure I burned more than, 300 calories just walking around and picking up my kids and living. So I'm still at a deficit, but I'm not way down low. On days when I work out, I'm higher. On my high carb days, I'm much higher. I'm more like around 2,000. And that's a good place for me. So I guess I just want to empower you guys with the knowledge that we need calories to burn fat. If if you stay at that low place for too long, your body starts to kind of slow down and it will stop burning as fast. You'll lose weight at first, and that's great, and then it'll slow down because your body's going to hold on to anything it can, because it thinks it's starving. So it's not going to let go of the fat stores, and you're going to have to drop your calories lower and lower and lower to see results. So step 1, find your BMR. That's your first step. And then you're going to add some calories back to that, and that's your target. But don't get married to this target. It's meant to be a target. It's flexible. When I track my food, I track it for a few reasons. I track it for data collection. So when I was first doing this, I just wanted to know how many I was eating without trying to restrict or any of that. I just wanted to know. So it's good to collect data. Number 2, it's good if you are like off track and you just need some help getting back on track. It's a really great place to, okay, this is how many I'm eating. I need to tone it, dial it in a little bit. But I don't think it's necessary or healthy to track every single day of your life, because then we can get obsessed with those numbers. So use it as a tool, and when you don't need the tool, put it away and pick it up when you need it again. That's how I use it. So let's talk about the macros. I pulled up the web interface of MyFitnessPal, but it's just so terrible. It doesn't even show me what I wanted to show you guys. So I'm going to try to show you on my phone. So MyFitnessPal is the app I use. It's hands down the best app for tracking because it syncs with nearly every single food on the planet. You can scan the barcode of the food and it saves it in your list. It's just so easy. So if you guys are on your phone, or if you have your phone and you happen to have MyFitnessPal, at the very bottom of the diary where you're entering in your food, there's a little button that says nutrition, and it's got a pie chart symbol. So I click nutrition. Oh, I went back a day, hold on. And then there are 3 categories here, and I clicked macros. So this is my macro screenshot for today. And I don't look at the goal percentage as much as the actual number. So it says my carbohydrates, so again, it was a low carb day. It says my carbohydrates were 80 grams today, which I had told you guys to keep around 50. But if you look at nutrients, I had 23 grams of fiber. So 80 minus 23, that's my net carb. So I'm in the 60 range, which is great. That's great for your low carb day. Really anywhere around like 75 or less, I'm pretty happy with, for me personally. Especially now today, it probably could have been a little lower because I didn't work out, but I work out quite a bit, so to have a few more carbs, that's okay. My fat grams were 80 grams of fat, and my protein was 100 grams, which is really good for me. I try to get around a gram per pound of body weight. I weigh 110 pounds, so anything between like 90 and 120, I'm like, well, 120 I would never get. I just can't eat that much protein, but I'm really thrilled with that. So that's how I feel about my macro screenshot. And one thing that is really helpful is if you put your food in before you eat the food. So like today, log what you're planning to eat tomorrow, scroll down to the bottom, look at your screenshot, check it out, see if you need to make any adjustments, and make those adjustments. Because sometimes it's funny, you'll think a food is, has different macros than it does, and when you put it in, you're like, ooh, that really skewed it a little bit. So it's kind of fun to play with, and then you get faster and better at knowing what foods are, belong where. Let's see, another thing about macros. Okay, so here's how I personally use this with my macros. I always try to get around 100 grams of protein, 1 gram per pound. And I want my fats to be higher on low carb day, and I want my carbs to be around, like I said, 60, 70, 50 on a low carb day. And on a high carb day, I want my carbs to be about double my body weight. So about 2 grams per pound of body weight on a high carb day. So I sort of look for the protein and the carbs, and then I fit in the fat where it goes. That's how I do it. I gave you some goal targets so you can use those if that helps you, but I like the numbers instead of the percentages better. That just works better for me. Okay, let's take a pause here because I know I threw a lot of numbers at you. What questions do you guys have here at this point? Are you overwhelmed? A little bit? Okay. So if you're overwhelmed, I encourage you to just start by tracking your food in MyFitnessPal and getting familiar with the app. Find your BMR and shoot me a message if you need help and I can guide you. But a good rule of thumb is to, take your BMR, let's say it's 1,500, and add, 300 calories. That's a great calorie target for you. Now, one more thing about the calorie targets. If you're used to eating 1,300 calories and you find out that you should be more at like 1,800, you don't want to just go add 500 calories to your diet. You're not going to be happy with that. It's called reverse dieting, and it means that you're going to slowly add more calories to your diet so that your body can gradually adjust to them, and you're going to love how you feel. Here's one way to know that you're getting enough calories. You sleep really, really well. You sleep really, really well. It's a sound sleep, and I know a lot of you guys have babies, and that's different. It's a whole different thing. But when you are sleeping and you're well fed, your sleep quality improves. And you don't feel, you shouldn't feel hungry. We talked about that. You shouldn't feel uncomfortable. If you're going to bed and you're like, oh, I'm so hungry, you need to eat more. Break your fast and just eat more and start over the next day. When you are fasting in the morning, yes, you're going to feel a little hungry, but in your eating window, if you're really hungry, then you are not eating enough. And yes, we have days where we're not as hungry, and okay, you don't have to push the food or whatever, but for the most part, your body will tell you if you're getting enough to eat or not, okay? All right, any other questions? I think that's all I had, you guys. I wanted to talk about calories, BMR, macros, supplements.
Hi, Katie.
Hey, Erin.
It's me.
Hi.
I'm multitasking and trying to make a healthy dinner and listen to you at the same time you do that. I'm just curious. I mean, you mentioned macros, and I think I'll have to study the numbers a little bit, but how do we know what the right combination is for our own self? I mean, I understand the BMR and I understand the calories on top of that, but how do we know what the combination is for the fiber and carbs and the fat and the protein?
Okay, well, that's a really good question. And I'll have to say that I hired 2 different online coaches to give me personalized macro reports. And I still don't use either one of those because I found that it just didn't work for me. So I'll give you, I'll tell you how I do it, and then you just kind of have to play with it. I think it's easiest to start with your protein. Like your protein, it is, you really want to get between 0.8 and 1.2 grams of protein per pound of your body weight to help you build your muscles, especially when you're lifting weights. So if you weigh 150 pounds, you're aiming for around, 130, 100, anywhere from 125 to 150 grams of protein a day. So, whatever that percentage is. Then I would have to use a calculator and do that times, 4 grams. I'd have to do that to get your whole percentage. But I go by the number. So that would be the number of grams you're kind of going for. And then, on a low carb day, you're going for around 50 grams of carbs. So, okay, let me do the calculation real quick. So I said 100, and let's say we do 140 grams of protein at 4 calories a gram. That's 560. And then, let's see, we'll say you got 60 grams of carbs at 4 calories a gram. That's 240. Okay, so that's only 800 calories. So this is a low carb day. So then, let's say 80 grams of fat times 9. No. 60 grams times 9. Okay, so if you had 60 grams of fat, that puts you at 1360 calories, 1360 calories. So that's probably low for you, Erin. I don't think you need to be at that low. I was just picking some numbers. So you've got a lot more food you can work with there than what I even said. But if you're figuring it out, if you're using a calculator, if you want to get your percentages, fats are 9 calories per gram and carbs and protein are 4. So you can multiply it out that way. But I would just stick with figuring out your carbs for the day and your proteins, and then you fit your fat in where it fits. Fit your fat in. Does that make sense?
It kind of does. I mean, it sounds like it's a formula, and I don't know if you have this written down or if that's something that you can share with us. Because I don't know that I captured all of it. And I get that it's different for everyone and that you've kind of modified it to what fits you. It's definitely not as simple as everything else you've taught us so far.
I think
but that's okay.
If you want, you can, do your MyFitnessPal, track your food, and send me your screenshot of your macros, and I can go from there.
Okay, cool. That would be helpful.
Yeah,
Thank
you guys can do that too.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Did you have a question, Palma?
I was just going to say how I understood it, and maybe she would understand it.
Here, will you come closer?
Oh, okay, sorry.
There we
I
go.
was just going to say it the way I understood it, and maybe it'll be clearer.
Yeah.
So that first you get your weight, and you get your protein, which would be 1 gram per whatever your weight, 140 pounds. So that gives you your protein. Then your carbs, like on a high carb day, you want double your body weight in grams, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that takes care of those 2 percentages right there. And then the fat is just going to figure out itself.
That's exactly right.
Okay. And then on the low carb day, the carbs are around 50 grams or whatever.
Right.
So if it makes it a little simpler, first I started with my weight on the proteins, then I figured out the carb, and then the fat will just figure itself out. I just thought I'd say it just a different way.
Yes, thank you. And I should mention that, some carb cycling programs don't they don't change the fat at all. So if that is more simple and works better for you guys, you can do that. And what I mean by that is they do the protein that we're doing, and then one day they do low carbs, and the next day they do high carbs, and the protein and fats are kind of the same. And so there's a lot of ways you can do it. There is not one right formula. The most important part is that you are cycling the carbohydrates. That's the most important part. We do the fats in this program because I think they're really important for your energy, and the healthy fats are great for your brain health and all of that. But try not to get obsessed over macro percentages, because unless you are bodybuilding and going into a competition kind of thing, we don't really need to be concerned about getting those down to the nitty gritty. We really don't. It's a big picture kind of thing, and I do this training only because a lot of people like the numbers, but I personally see my clients have the most success when they can take an overall approach and use that as just one little tool that they dabble in here and there, but they don't obsess over. Okay, so try to keep it in big picture thinking. Okay, any other questions tonight?
I just have one more thing to say, not really
Yes.
question. That I noticed that since I started, because I noticed you talked about the sleep, I'm a pretty good sleeper as it is, but I've already added almost an hour to my sleeping, like solid sleeping, an extra hour.
Wow.
So I'm sleeping almost 8 hours a night now.
And
So-
do you feel good about it? Like
it feels great. Yeah, I wake
Oh.
up and it feels great. So I just thought I'd mention that.
Oh, good. You know, I also don't struggle with sleeping, but I've noticed, okay, so first of all, with carb cycling, I go off it and on it. I go off it for a week or two, and then I go on it for 4 or 5 weeks. And I'll teach you guys that at the end. I think it's important to keep your body moving and not just stagnate and always do the same exact thing. But anyway, I went back on it when I started this program with you guys, and it was such a good reminder of how great I feel. My energy is through the roof. I am not tired at all during the day, and I am so ready for bed when bedtime comes, like just like a feel good kind of tired, and I sleep like a baby. And anyway, you're right, Palma, it is really good sleep, and that's how you know that your body's getting what it needs, unless you have a little baby, and then you got to take into account those little babies. All right, you guys, thank you so much for being on. I'll post the recording so you can watch it later if you have questions, and I hope you have a good night. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.